just when you think the Russian military couldn't get any weirder or more unhinged, they managed to up the ante. We've got an absolutely preposterous story of a father of 29 kids who signed up to volunteer in Russia's military. Let's talk about it. There's a larger story here about Russian military recruitment, but what I think the thing to take away is that this is a Russian father of 29 adopted and biological children who signed a contract to fight in Ukraine. You can see him here with all of his kids, his face anonymized. Now, I want to point this out. This is a part of Russia's efforts to really redouble their efforts to recruit more soldiers for the war. And this is a pretty classic case of who they kind of recruit. This man named Vakid Valiev was from Bashkortostan, which is a rural, somewhat impoverished region. And this is, again, something that we've seen before, is that the Russians who are most responsive to this call to enlist are those who are from the most desperate regions. It's also interesting that he is 57 years old. This is far older than you would see historically, but both Russia and Ukraine, frankly, have recruited older and older volunteers for the military. Some of this is a function of the fact that this type of warfare is just less physically demanding, or at least many of the roles are less physically demanding than you would see from combat in the past, right? This man typically won't be expected to march for dozens and dozens of miles, but he may be expected, in the case of the Russian special military operation, to board an armored vehicle and drive towards Ukrainian positions, even charging at the positions. So again, this is not uncommon in this war, but it is extremely uncommon by the standards of most wars. In most conflicts, by the time one side was recruiting men in their late 50s, you were really just seeing a total, it was the end game for that military. Now, he said it was, in an interview, just classic Russian thinking, he said it was not easy for his large family, but he made it out of a sense of patriotism and civic duty. He said, quote, 2 of our sons are serving in what the Russians call the special military operation, the Russian army. He says, I have no right not to help. Right. This is stupid for a couple of reasons, right? First off, this is a man with a huge family, a large number of mouths to feed. And while a number of those kids appear to be grown and able to contribute in their own ways to his family, there is a real need here to ensure that he is able to provide for them. And that is actually a problem. Now, before we talk more about why exactly it's a problem and what Russia's larger theory is on this, its recruitment cycle, I wanted to talk about Strike Gum. Guys, if you're tired of energy drinks loaded with sugar, loaded with caffeine, and frankly, wildly overpriced, you want Strike Gum. Now, Strike Gum has 90 milligrams caffeine in each piece. That's as much as a Red Bull, as much as an Amp Energy, but 0 sugar. And best of all, though, it's in a pack. You buy 1 pack of Strike Gum and you get the equivalent of 5 energy drinks. And you can put it in your pocket, put it in your gym bag, and get the energy wherever you need it. So check us out at strikegum.com. And by the way, we are doing free shipping with all subscriptions over $40. So if you want to subscribe and save, now is the time. If you know you love Strike Gum, right? Just put in that subscribe and save and get the free shipping, right? Why would you not? Check us out, strikegum.com. And we're on Amazon. Okay. So here's what I thought was kind of a larger story here that's worth discussing. Is that the Russian army has really ramped up its signing bonuses. In fact, in some cases, nearly doubling them, right? The Russian military signing bonuses are now actually comparable to the U.S. military's signing bonuses. That's how generously they're compensating these guys. Now, the difference is, even at the height of the Iraq War, U.S. military casualties never even approached 1%. In contrast, right, the Russian casualty rates, particularly of infantry troops, appears to be nearing the 50% mark. So again, if you deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, even during the height of the war, the odds were overwhelmingly in your favor that you would come home. In contrast, the odds are actually against you coming home in this conflict. So these larger paydays are recruiting a lot of troops, right? Reportedly, these big paychecks are getting a six-fold increase in troops. And that likely was what appealed to our father of 29 kids, is the fact that there was a chance to actually provide for his family. But here's the problem. Right. The problem is that, there's these large sign-on bonuses like $22,000 in Moscow, which goes a long way in those regions. And there's a promise of salaries up to $89,000 or $8,900 a month. That is massive. That's over $100,000 a year and 10 times the average wage. So for context, guys, the average wage in the United States is around $63,000. So that's the equivalent of making around $600,000 a year to sign up. As you can imagine, a lot of people are going to sign up for that. But there's a problem. The problem is this has to come out of somewhere. And this comes out of the Russian government coffers, which means they are going to have to turn on the money printer to fulfill these obligations. And sure, while they're going to get a lot of these figures, guys like, oh my gosh, what's his name? Valiev, the chance of him living a long time and the incentive for the Russian military to ensure these people live a long time is very, very low, right? So he's likely going to sign up. But Russia, do they really want to be on the hook for $100,000 a year to pay for this guy? Absolutely not. They already are on the hook for his sign-on bonus, which is likely lower because he enlisted in a more impoverished region, Bashkortostan. But if he had to pay out, if they had to pay him $100,000 a year, it would really crush the Russian government coffers if they had to do so at scale. So they have actually an incentive to eliminate this guy. And they seem to be willing to do so, with Russian casualties averaging around 1,500 a day. To give you a context, guys, the U.S. lost 1,500 soldiers, again, in the worst years of Iraq and Afghanistan. So just an absolutely preposterous level of casualty. And frankly, you can see here in total, Moscow spent up to $32 billion so far in payments to soldiers participating in the war, starting as of June 2023. And so this sort of thing is just a reminder that the Russian military, while they project strength, they make sometimes some gains in the East. There's a tremendous and fundamental weakness in solving the war economy that they just can't work around. Anyway, guys, that's all I had. Thank you to our Colonel tier members like Bill Collier, Robert Colburn, Gaidos Marning, Eugenia Cuesta, Chris Gorsuch, Franz Karius, AL90, and Pecha Tororu. Huge thank you to our Lieutenant tier members. Couldn't do this without you guys. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Makes a difference. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.